Let's please bring in Rich Sutter. He is in Lethbridge. Let's say he's not traveling right now, but he will. We got him a rare moment at home. Rich Sutter joins us. How you doing, Richie?
I'm great, Rod. How are you?
I'm good. Let's start with this. There's a lot of Leaf fans watching this program, and our poll question is, what should the Leafs' concern level be? High, moderate, or low going into Game 2 tonight with all they got going on?
Well, I think with all they got going on, probably high. Look, they've got to score goals to win hockey games, and they know that. There's a lot of smart people there. They'll be prepared. It comes down to, is 88 going to play tonight? I don't know. I haven't heard anything yet. Austin needs to have some puck luck around the net. Look, he's just because he hasn't scored in 3 games going back last 2 regular season games, he's had some incredible chances. So seems to when he goes and he scores, the team follows. So, but they need to get some saves. Let's be honest too.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'm just making a note of your comments here. You've been through so many playoff wars. I mean, I didn't really like the quotes from the Leafs coming out of Game 1, like Austin Matthews saying, well, now we got a taste of what this series pace will be. You didn't know, but you get it too. You know what I mean, Rich? Yeah.
I think that was just a comment, probably off the cuff comment. I mean, look, they know the Boston Bruins video nowadays. Teams follow each other. I mean, look, and I'm sure the LA Kings sat in their hotel rooms in Edmonton last night, and Connor McDavid sat at his house and he was watching hockey. So teams know each other inside out. It's just like, you got to come to play. I mean, you got to find a way to raise your game to another level, but remain focused, remain disciplined, and also, I think the biggest thing is to remain patient within your structure and believe in it. And if the Leafs don't have all of that, then it's a tough road to hoe. It's like that for any team, though.
Well, and that's what I mean, man. Like, I don't want to spend enough time on that series anymore because the rest of the country is. But it's not a cocktail party Game 1 getting to know each other. It's the Stanley Cup playoffs. Right from the jump. Winnipeg, Colorado. There was no waiting to see what the pace of that series was going to be.
No, that was wild, especially the first period. But I think Colorado has got to be concerned about their goaltending. Look, Jared Bednar is a great coach, good Saskatchewan boy. These guys know what's going on, know what they've got. I'm sure that Rick Bowness slept a hell of a lot better last night than Jared did, knowing that he's got a Vezina guy in net, and Connor Hellebuck. He gave up 6, but we scored 7. Well, my concern last night after watching that game was, come on, Gorgiev, we need a save here. Like 4 in the first 6 shots, 6 in the first 20 shots. I don't care what league you're in, what level of hockey you're in, you're not winning hockey games. Your goal is not making saves.
Well, it's funny you say that. I would, of all the things I've seen bitching coming out of Winnipeg about, Hellebuck's 6 goals isn't one. People are complaining about the flyover for some reason. I don't know, but this is your era. I asked Grant Fuhr how he felt about his goals against average being so lofty career, and he was like, we won. He didn't care. Nor should Connor Hellebuck, I don't think, right?
At this time of the year, do you know what? I liked Adam Lowry's comments after the game. There was no consternation. There was no panic. Look, he goes, we got some things to clean up. We won Game 1, and at this time of the year, there's always little things under the table that you think about internally. But at the end of the day, did you win? You won. So let's still be better, clean up some things, and that's more than likely their mindset and their approach today. Colorado's approach has got to be simply where are we at with our goaltending, because we can score enough to win. It's how hard can we defend, how much better can we defend, and can a goalie make a save?
Well, you know as well as anybody, you can't overcome bad goaltending? I don't think you can, but it's a little late for this discussion, isn't it?
Yep. But Colorado's known that probably a better part of the year this year, right? You can't rely on Nathan McKinnon to win hockey games for you every night. At some point, you've got to get goaltending, and at some point, at the end of the day, goaltending wins championship.
We have not talked enough on this show about the Edmonton Oilers against the LA Kings tonight. I've got the Oilers in 5. And by the way, you normally do nail the Stanley Cup winner, so at the end I'll ask you yours. But I don't think this will be a long series. What's your read on Oilers Kings?
Well, unless LA is going to change their 1-3-1, which Edmonton seemed to overcome the last 2 or 3 times they played them this year. I don't know how else LA is going to overcome. Look, you got 29 and 97 running the show, and you got a power play that's been just good this year. Can you imagine if they get back to anywhere near the numbers that are at last year come playoff time? I don't know about either team's goaltending. And still, to me, is unproven. LA's got the more experience, but LA's going to definitely find another gear and and not so much offensively, but another gear defensively to stop Edmonton. Have they got a shot? Of course they do. It's the playoffs, and upsets are always made in the first rounds. The first rounds are always seemingly the most entertaining, coming out of the hopper with the energy and the emotions. But look, I would like to see LA win. Personally, I'm an LA King fan. I just don't know how they get past. I think 29-97 are difference makers, especially in the first round. Will it get tougher if they move on? For sure it will. But I think it's just it's a big thing to ask for LA to overcome those guys.
You know, it's interesting. You want to talk about the coaching vacancies, and that LA is potentially one of them. Like, is this not an audition for Jim Hiller right now with the Kings?
I think it has to be. I think there's a lot of people under the gun there a little bit, just not the coaching staffs. I mean, they've made coaching changes often in the last few years. I think there's a lot of people that shook their heads when they let Todd go. But at the end of the day, they know what's going on internally a lot more than we all do. So it's definitely an audition. If there's ever one, this is the one for Jim, because he's the one that's still playing, his team's still playing. When you look around the rest of the teams, like you say, Drew Bannister in St. Louis, interim, Travis Green, interim in New Jersey. Those guys are done. So there's a lot of conversation going on behind closed doors in those places.
Hey, before we continue on that coaching vein, selfishly, I'd love to know your take on Tampa Bay's game and a 3-2 loss here in Game 1 on Sunday. They did not look themselves. What did you see?
I certainly didn't like the first 15 minutes of the game. I liked probably about the 15-minute mark on to about the 50-minute mark. So there's a couple spots in the game. Obviously, starting has to be much better. Finishing, they did make a push after Tkachuk scored the empty net goal, but I still think that Florida's just got depth, and they got guys that can score at every line. They're deep. I still like Tampa to a degree, but I don't know how they can overcome Florida's depth. And Florida's got an edge to the game that I love. At the end of the day, it's two great teams, two great coaches, two well-coached teams. I think it comes down to depth. And Tampa's got Cooch, and they got Braden Point. They got some guys that can kill you in a heartbeat. But I just think you look at Florida's lineup, the depth is going to be hard to beat.
I agree, and that's why I picked them in 6. And where they got that edge is from taking their lumps the past few years. Tampa administered some of those, but eventually the little brother becomes the bigger brother. You've lived it. Buffalo's looking for a coach in Ottawa, too. How soon? Do you think they'll have one before the draft?
I think both teams are probably waiting to see what might come out of, here in the next couple of weeks with other teams with their internal discussions on where they're going to go out with some people, but there's some very good coaches sitting on the sidelines right now that I believe are huge difference makers if one of them were to be hired, or any of them would be hired by those respective organizations. We all know what needs in terms of where they're at. Look, I think these teams are very close. The NHL is a funny league right now. Everyone believes they can win, or at least 2/3 of the teams in the league believe they can win. There's always a group of teams that are always, if you make some subtle lineup changes, add some things, take some things out of your locker room, are huge difference makers, Rod. And it's not a lot, but it's not easy to do. I think the biggest thing with these two organizations, it starts what kind of a coach do you need to have in there? And I think it's pretty obvious the kind of coach that these two organizations need. And that's someone that is going to be a little bit tougher on the players. It's time that these guys take other steps, can definitely have potential to take the steps, but I think it's got a lot to do with structure, what these guys can bring to an organization. Both these teams need to learn how to defend much better as groups. And I think that's the biggest thing. You bring in someone that is not going to let the best players off the hook and make them play harder without the puck is going to be difference makers. And I think those two teams can make those two coaching changes. I think you'll see big differences in where these teams go next year.
We got about 2 minutes. The Final Four in the Dubs, intriguing. Saskatoon and Moose Jaw in the East, Prince George and Portland in the West. Both series are going to be deadly.
Moose Jaw, Saskatoon. Saskatoon's been the team all year, added to their lineup much like Moose Jaw did. I personally like Moose Jaw's ability and their talent up and down their lineup more than Saskatoon. Saskatoon seems to play a better system. They seem to be more well-structured, more patient. They don't gamble quite as much as probably Moose Jaw would. I think patience is going to be a huge thing in this series. I think what team that will check better will win, will come out of that for sure. I look out west with Portland and PG. Look, I think PG is the best team in the league this year, but Mike Johnson and Mr. Gustafson out there, those guys they're NHL experienced coaches. They'll find a way to have their players prepared against two very good pro coaches in Jimmy Playfair and Mark Lamb and Prince George. I think both series are going to be great series, all well-coached teams, lots of ability in both clubs. I think these two semifinals could be some of the best hockey played in the Western League playoffs quite a few years.
Lastly, we got less than a minute, but what's up with your career right now? What's next for you?
Well, look, I've had the last year or so off, paid attention to the league. I've watched a ton of hockey. I want to get back in it. This last year or so has been, I think, really, really good for me mentally and physically to get caught up. I know my experience at different levels in the game with pro teams. I know I've got a lot to give back. I definitely want to get back in it, at least for the next few years. And hopefully I can find a team out there that I can work with. I would love to do it. I'm anxious to do it. And I know I've got a lot to offer.
All right, well, let us know how that goes, Richie. This went fast. I appreciate it. Enjoy the hockey.
You too, Rod. Enjoy the hockey down there. Fun watching, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you, bud. 13-year NHL veteran Rich Sutter.